Okay, so we're told to take the integral of 24 times the cosine of 3x to the fourth. So the first thing we're going to do is factor the 24 out of the integral, and then the next thing we'll do is separate cosine 3x to the fourth into 2 cosine of 3x squares. And then what we can do is we can use the Pythagorean trig identity, where sine squared plus cosine squared equals 1. And then we can manipulate that equation to get cosine squared equals 1 minus sine squared. And then we can substitute 1 minus sine squared into one of the cosine squares in the integrand. So then we'll get 24 times the integral of 1 minus sine squared 3x times cosine squared 3x. And then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to multiply it all out. So we'll get 24 times the integral of cosine squared 3x minus sine squared 3x cosine squared 3x. And then the next thing we're going to do is we're going to use double angle identities in order to get rid of some of the squares. So we can see we have cosine of 2 theta equals 2 times cosine squared of theta minus 1. And if we manipulate the equation, we can make it so that cosine of 2 theta plus 1 over 2 is cosine squared of theta. And then I'm going to do the same thing with the other identity, where it's cosine squared theta equals 1 minus 2 sine squared theta. And then we do a little algebra, and it's 1 minus cosine 2 theta over 2 equals sine squared theta. Alright, so before I substitute these identities in, I'm going to use the additive and subtractive rule of integrals to separate the two integrals into 2. So we'll have 24 times the integral of cosine squared 3x minus the integral of sine squared 3x cosine squared 3x. And so just to clarify, in our identity we have theta, but in our integral we have 3x. So if we have 2 theta, then we'll have 6x. And so now we'll have 24 times the integral of cosine 6x plus 1 over 2 times dx minus the integral of the quantity of 1 minus cosine 6x over 2 times the quantity of 1 plus cosine 6x over 2 dx. And then for our first integral, I'm going to factor out the 2 on the bottom, so we'll get 1 half times the integral of cosine 6x plus 1 times dx. And then on our second integral, I'm going to multiply it all out, so we'll get the integral of 1 minus cosine squared of 6x over 4 times dx. And then going back to our first integral, I'm just going to integrate it. It's really easy, so we'll get 1 half times the quantity of 1 over 6 sine of 6x plus x. And then for our second integral, I'm going to factor out the 4 on the bottom, so we'll get 1/4 times the integral of 1 minus cosine squared 6x times dx. And then to get rid of that square, we're going to use the double angle identity again. So I'll write it down again. It's cosine of 2 theta plus 1 over 2 equals cosine squared of theta. And again, to clarify, if we have theta as 6x, then 2 theta is 12x. And so I'm going to plug in our identity, so we'll get 1/4 times the integral of 1 minus the quantity of cosine 12x plus 1 over 2 dx. So now I'm just going to rewrite our first couple of terms. I'm just going to be working on our second integral. So the next thing we'll do is I'll separate the fraction into 2 terms and then multiply the negative into both of them. So we'll have the integral of 1 minus cosine 12x over 2 minus 1/2 dx. And then again I'm going to rewrite. and then I'll add the two terms 1 and negative 1/2 together to get 1/2. So we'll get 1/2 minus cosine 12x over 2. And then the next thing I'm going to do is factor out the 2. So I'll rewrite, and then we'll get 1/4 times 1/2, which is 1/8 times the integral of 1 minus cosine 12x. And that'll be easy to integrate. So once I rewrite it, I'll have sine of 6x over 12 plus x over 2 minus 1 over 8 times the quantity of x minus 1 over 12 sine 12x. And then now I'll multiply the 1/8 in, so we'll get sine of 6x over 12 plus x over 2 minus x over 8 plus 1 over 8 times 12 times sine of 12x. And then now I'll finally multiply the 24 into each term. So we'll get 2 sine 6x plus 12x minus 3x plus 24 over 8 times 12 sine of 12x. And then I'll just combine like terms and simplify. So we'll get 2 sine 6x plus 9x plus sine of 12x over 4. And then I'll add the plus c. And that's the solution.